All right, everyone, welcome to Tesla Today. So many good news and amazing news about Tesla that just dropped yesterday and today, all about Tesla's future. So we're going to be hearing about, JB Straubel being nominated for the board, Tom Ju, Senior Vice President of Automotive. There is the master plan that they dropped several days ago. Massive, well, actually not massive, but across the board price cuts, and Tesla's now appearing and being launched in multiple countries. So this is absolutely the future of Tesla. We've got Brian White. He's the host of My Tesla Weekend. He joins me every Friday. Welcome, Brian. How are you doing?
Oh man, Herbert, what a busy week. I can barely keep up, and I do this.
Every Friday, it's the best day for you because the every news drops today. So let's get to it. Okay, so let's get going really quickly, Brian. There's so much to cover. I know this is now old news because this dropped 2 days ago, but I really
Two
wanted
whole
to get
days.
2 days ago. I really wanted to get your opinion on this. I had talked to Jeff yesterday's show and we covered this, but this was an important deck on Master Plan Part 3, specifically for Tesla's automotive business, batteries for transportation. So here they talk about all the different kinds of segments that Tesla is going to enter. Oops, where did we go down? Here we go. And I wanted to get your opinion. So basically, they're compact car that says to be determined. They're working on it. Vans and buses. What do you think? What did you think about the pack sizes and the vehicle sales numbers here?
So some of these we're reading too much into, some of them we're not reading enough. Pack size 53 kilowatt hours for a compact. I think that's Tesla's aspiration because other companies are putting in sometimes much smaller and it's inadequate. Midsize, we already know. Passenger vans, large sedans, SUVs, and trucks. Dodge announced they're putting a 217 kilowatt hour pack in their upcoming pickup, which is
Mhm.
ridiculous, unsustainable, evidence of terrible engineering. They're trying to brute force
Mm.
range. It's a bad idea. And look at that compared to a bus. 300 kilowatt hours in a bus and 217 in a pickup truck. Come on, Ram,
Mhm.
do better. So I think these numbers are based on what's already on the market from competition, from themselves, and what the objective is. So things like 100 for pickups is right now still aspirational, but it's very realistic and the roadmap is in place. And for the semis and the buses, there's no reason they can't get into that. Tesla could just build the skateboard for a bus. I know they don't like building skateboards, but for a bus, it makes more sense because everyone has different size and shapes of roads and overpasses and different necessities. And different tastes and different seating configuration interests. So yeah, I think all of that is beautiful because it also shows exactly what we need to get to make the transition complete. And it's
Yeah.
not crazy. It's not outrageous.
Not outrageous at all. Be interesting to see what portion of this Tesla will get. But I'm glad that they're obviously getting into the compact car, which is the bulk of the sales. And so if they just get even a portion of this, it's going to be massive, and there won't be an issue with demand, or not demand, but be able to get the demand. What the yeah. Okay.
Continue growing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, let's get going. So obviously the 14A was it 14A or 14F? 14A was dropped yesterday, and one of the news there was Tesla is nominating JB Straubel to be on the board, and he is the ex-co-founder. He is the co-founder, a co-founder of Tesla, and he's a current founder and CEO of Redwood Materials. He founded Tesla with Elon, and now he's being voted to the board. And it looks like that the almost the vast majority of the Tesla Twitter community, they're all very much in favor of this. What was your reaction when you saw this?
100%. I'm with Sawyer on this one. This is it the fact that some of the founders have shown up at previous events like the semi launch shows confidence, shows solidarity, shows good blood between them. And JB is smart. That's not up for debate. He knows what he's doing. He's good at this. He gets it, and he is, I think, for the board, an easy fit.
Nice. Okay. Next one up is Tom Drew, and one of the tables there that they showed that he's now the senior vice president of automotive, effective as of April 2023, which is now. He's now senior vice president of automotive. He joined Tesla in 2000 and what?
14.
14. Okay, it's almost 10 years. And of
Yeah,
course,
isn't that
he's just
crazy?
been in charge of all the gigafactories. Why don't you tell us what he's been working on, what he's been in charge of, and what your expectations are from him?
So Tom Ju is the Magi of Shanghai. He's the one who got it running, got it efficient. And when COVID hit and there was no way to get senior execs in and out to do the legwork, to do the actual on the ground work, he was the one who took charge and made Giga Shanghai into the juggernaut that it is. He came over to Fremont in, I think, November or December. And in the Investor Day slides, we can see immediately things got turned around in Fremont. The number of man hours to build a car dropped, the efficiency increased. And just by looking at the drone footage, you could see outside, they just started cleaning up, tidying the workspace, because you need a tidy workspace for efficiency. And it's
Yeah.
assumed that the same kind of thing is going on inside, but more with the actual equipment. So he is all about efficiency. And this is something that the concern was that it might not translate culturally, like the movie Gung Ho, where the philosophy
Mhm.
used in other countries may not be accepted. It appears to have been accepted. There hasn't been grumbling. There hasn't been revolt. There hasn't been complaints. Better work environment is a better work environment. And that means more efficiency and happier employees.
Good. Okay.
So
So
yeah,
obviously,
I think
you, yeah, he's
I'm on
awesome.
board.
Do you have an opinion of whether or not you think the next CEO, if Elon leaves, it should be JB or it should be Tom Drew?
Well, at this point, I'd say Tom Ju, because he's got the hands-on experience with the factories, which is the element at this point. And JB's been out for a little while, and I don't necessarily know how much his role exactly was in the formative years. I think they're both solid candidates, but my money would be on Tom Ju at this point.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting that quite a number of folks think it's going to be JB as the next CEO, but I actually think it's going to be Tom Drew. But great board member, obviously he's very well respected. So great news for all of us. I think we're all very happy about that. So we heard there's just more price cuts across the board. So we got the Model S, Plaid, Model X, even 3 and Ys. So actually, this is just talking about Model S and 3. So here's what it is. The Model 3 Performance, $1,000. Model 3 Rear-wheel drive, $1,000. Model Ys, $2,000 reduction. And Model S and X, $5,000 reduction. And there was a new Model Y all-wheel drive with the 4680 battery introduced. So this was the 4680 is now available in a design studio. So if you want to buy a Tesla and you look into it, you'll see that you can now choose the Model Y, which has a 4680, right?
And that's
And
exciting.
yep.
Those were previously, they existed. You couldn't order one. You might get one out of inventory, but you couldn't actually order it. And this is a good sign. It suggests that 4680 production has ramped to a point where it can meet actual production capacity. And that is good news. And they're still getting the lines. They're always working on improvements to make them faster and more efficient. This is the news we were waiting to hear in regards to the 4680 batteries.
Good. So you think it's moving forward now. What about these price cuts? What was your reaction to this?
So it's interesting on the S and X. I think that was expected, seeing how much inventory was remaining. Now we can say they were in transit, but that would be 2 or 3 entire boatloads, which is a number that strains credulity. We know that every showroom I've seen in the last 6 months has a Plaid on display. They would rather sell those. They would rather not have them on display, but have them in customers' hands. It is a halo car, but it's not really drawing people in who are going to all of a sudden decide to buy something else. So I think those are necessary. And on the 3 and Y, I think those just reflect the reduction in cost of goods, or improvements in operational efficiencies at the factories.
Wow. Yeah, I agree with you. So we'll cover that a little bit more, but before we do, I wanted to share this, which is I think we got, not this one, which is it here. Here we go. So there's been clarification, right, that the Tesla Model 3 rear-wheel drive will get its 7,500 reduced to 3,750. Any
So this is
comments on
good
that?
news. Yeah, the
Good
good
news.
news is we thought it was going to go to zero, and it's not. It's going to 3,750. The interesting news is now the price difference between a standard range with a 3,750 credit plus a color is getting awfully close to a long range or performance in the base color, because you've got an extra 3,750 in credits minus that extra 3,000 for paint, 1,000 to 3,000 for paint, depending. The price is getting pretty narrow between the two, but for value buyers, this is still a good one, and it'll move units for sure.
Okay. Let's continue talking about the price cuts, but I want to walk you guys through this conversation because it's quite interesting. And at the end, we'll see Elon actually replied to this conversation. He did it this morning. So first, Ross Gerber said this. He said, not surprising to see more Tesla price cuts as inventory grows. And then he said, I don't understand the resistance to advertising when it seems they can only create new demand by lowering prices. At some point, maybe the public would enjoy all the video Tesla makes. So this is a common trope by many of the Tesla Twitter community who says that why are you reducing the price to get demand, and why aren't you instead advertising? James Catt agreed with him, and he says Ross is correct. This is Elon being stubborn. If Tesla just spent $50 million on advertising, it wouldn't even be a dent to operating expenses, but it would probably generate enough demand to avoid these price cuts. So that's, they keep saying advertise instead of price cuts. Now, Omar weighed in and he said, listen, the idea is to make the cars more affordable, not to spend money advertising. And then you're going to have to make the video more expensive. The goal of Tesla is to go down. Beautifully, Elon replied. He said, so many well-off critics don't understand that demand at scale is limited by affordability. There's plenty of demand for our products. Okay? There's plenty of demand for our products. But the price is more. But if the price is more money than people have, that demand is irrelevant. So Elon had he was interviewed by Tesla owners of Silicon Valley, and he had spent about 2 minutes. I've already played this clip before, where he explained that when companies create products like a car and they keep adding new features to it, it raises the price. But as you raise the price, less people can afford it. And so people like Rivian and Lucid, he said that there's a fraction of people can afford a car that's over $100,000. But if you lower the price and make it affordable, it says you can't pass the affordability mark, is what he's saying. So the goal of Tesla is to be lower than the affordability mark and yet be premium with features.
Absolutely agree. And I had to look at it myself and think about it for a while because, it seems like a no-brainer. Some companies spend, Lexus spends $1,000 a car advertising. Buick spends 675. Lincoln spends 1,800. Would you rather have the price cut of that equal amount? But the problem with the idea of advertising is, do you think people are not already aware of Tesla? When people think EV, they already think Tesla. They're on every street. They're on everyone's lips, investors and otherwise. This car is not lacking for attention. And that's the whole thing with people like you and me. We are the advertising. And I don't think that $50 million ad buy would necessarily result in more immediate purchases if the interest rates are as high as they are and the prices as high as they are. I don't know where you could effectively spend that money to increase demand at higher prices.
Okay, I have a nuanced take on this, I think. So I agree with what you just said, right? People know about Tesla, but I also believe, and I think many of us do, that very few people know the advantages that Tesla has. Very few. Only when they step inside the Tesla, which is so few people have ever driven in a Tesla, they don't know that it's the safest car in the world. They don't know that it has, over-the-air updates and that it keeps improving over time. There's just so many things that no one knows. Okay, so this is the concept of advertising. However, when your price is cheaper than a Prius or a Toyota Corolla, that's what you're right. Everybody knows Tesla, so when they're looking for EV, they'll look for it. And now when they see the price is reduced, and so we have price parity, and then they go, oh, you're going to save even more money because there's less service. There's going to be less less service, and then less, yeah, so less maintenance costs in the future, less gas costs, right? Less fuel costs required. It's like, okay, then they realize at that point all the other benefits like safety and others. So I don't mind them doing advertising, but cutting prices is just game changing, and we're already there. We're already there now, and when people understand the prices are really reduced, so that's another thing people didn't know. I don't think people know right now is that it is in price parity at this point, and even cheaper. That should
And
be advertised.
and I think they could, to split the difference, they could make ads, but not run them. Just put them up on their YouTube channel, put it up on their own Twitter channel, but not sponsored, not paid, not actually buying the ads. They're already making some pretty great promo videos. Those are getting circulated.
Yeah.
I think that would be a way of getting the information out without having to pay for advertising.
Let's take a look at Dewiz saying advertising is for Pepsi versus Coke, McDonald's versus Wendy's when your product is generic. Tesla doesn't need advertising.
And I can see both sides of it.
Mm-hmm.
Wrigley gum was the gum, and to such a degree that they decided that they were going to stop advertising in like the 30s or 40s or something, and they immediately lost market share because everyone else was still advertising.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I don't think that this is an issue. I stand by, Elon's suggestion. At the end of the day, there's no demand problem. You don't need to advertise today, reduce prices because you're trying to get affordability, and demands can just skyrocket. And there's no need for advertising at this point because they can only, it's still a production limited situation right now. And so you only advertise when you have way more production than you can with demand. And we're not there. And so when people think that there's price cuts, they think, oh, that means demand issues. There is no demand issues. So here's James saying that Tesla US price cuts were very minor. It's like 1,000 price adjustments. Why are we even talking about this? Dealerships do this all the time. They come in there and this variable pricing in the dealer, not in the manufacturing basis. And then he said the 4680 is the bigger issue, or the wonderful thing. We should all be extremely happy about that. That's going to be amazing. You just said that earlier. And then Amy, who I normally have as a guest on Thursday's show, and she's an airline pilot. She's saying that, the Tesla prices with the price cuts today, it's still above 2019 prices. And so again, this whole thing about, oh my God, they're cutting prices. That's because they raised the prices because of the temporary blip in 2020. And that Tesla uses a variable pricing model like airlines or hotels. So the car manufacturers, Ford and GM and others, they create a price point. They use that price point. They sell it to the dealers, and the dealers decide what they decide to sell it to you at. Tesla is selling it direct to you, and they'll change the price at any moment. And they have been. We've been watching them kind of adjust it every moment. So this is just another thing, and all that. So yeah.
Absolutely agree. And the highest prices we saw in recent months and years, how many people were actually paying that versus people who were still in the backlog waiting to get their car with a locked in lower price? I would argue it's probably not that many. And we don't need 30, 40, 80% margins. We need markets. And there are places where Tesla will sell cars for less than other markets because they want to be in that market. They need to establish their foothold. They need to grow it. Even if it means losing a couple $1,000s on each car, they're not actually losing money. They're just eating into the margin a little bit, and higher margin markets make up for it.
Mm-hmm. What's your expectation with the margins that's coming up? So people think that some people they're saying that, because we heard Elon at a Twitter space, he had said that we're expecting a massive recession. And if there is a massive recession, I'd rather sell the cars and I'll reduce the prices and have lower margin. He said that, but he goes, people don't remember that he actually said it in a situation where there's a macroeconomic scenario where there's a massive recession. That's what we would do. Okay. But yeah.
Oh, I would say the margins.
What's going to happen to the margin though? or some people
Yeah.
believe that they're, like you just said earlier, which is, supply chain costs have going down, and so they're just letting it a little the affordability, but the 20% gross margin that they guided for is still intact. Where do you stand on this?
So we know lithium prices have crashed down 60, 70%. Cobalt is down significantly too. Uh, all of the parts, the prices are normalizing. I don't know if that equates to $1,000 a car or $5,000 a car, but even if it was no price savings, which I wouldn't believe, there's also the efficiency gains. Fremont is getting more efficient. Shanghai is always getting more efficient. Berlin and Texas are ramping. That leads to better margins per vehicle. So it would not surprise me if we saw margins comparable to previous quarters, maybe not the
Yes.
best of previous quarters, but absolutely on par with recent quarters. That's
Wow.
what I'm
Okay.
looking for.
That's what you're looking for. I love hearing that, of course, and I'm kind of in that position, but we'll see what happens. Can you explain this one? So, who is this? Is asking saying that the 4680 in this person's mind is a non-event. Why pay 3,000 less for 50-mile less? Tell us the benefits of 4680 battery.
Um, to the consumer, all we can do is believe that it may have a greater longevity. To the company, it's a cheaper battery to make once fully ramped. But for the consumer, I don't know, 50 miles of range less for 3,000. If you don't need it, don't get it. And the beauty there is at some point we will have a rear wheel drive version that's cheaper still. I think a long range rear wheel drive would be exciting. Long range, a standard range rear wheel drive would also be exciting. Um, we'll see what the consumers decide when they order, but I think $3,000 right now with interest rates such as they are will make a difference in your payment. And 50 miles of range may not make a difference in your satisfaction, especially if you're already a Tesla owner and know what to expect in terms of range. It is better chemistry, but we don't yet know to what degree it is better.
All right, good answer. All right, there's just so many good news or news that came out about Tesla in the last day and two. And so we know that Lathrop, Tesla Energy, has been just now firing on all cylinders. They're doing so well. And then there's rumors that China is going to be doing megapack factories, and these rumors are continuing to grow. So here's hiring career sites for megapack engineers in China. And now this person says, I'm sure that energy storage facilities will be built in China. So you're the best person to ask. You're like one of the experts in the factories, and you've been following this closely. What's your thoughts here?
So the megapacks use LFP batteries, which are already shipped in from China. So right there, you've got part of your answer. There's a logistics kind of lot, a construction office lot just to the east of Giga Shanghai that has been removed and had all the pavement torn up. They could fit a Lathrop size factory right there next to it. Would they build it in Shanghai? Well, the listing says that's where they're looking to hire. Would they build it next door? Maybe, maybe not. But this would be an easy fit. China is pushing aggressively to this transition. They want to get rid of peaker plants as bad as anybody. The Lathrop built ones are $2.5 million per megapack, which is a version 2. It's the 82-ton version instead of the 52-ton version, or sorry, 52,000 pound versus 82,000 pound. These are, they could build and sell them for realistically half the price in China
Wow.
without going negative. They wouldn't be, above 20% margin, but they could likely do that. The demand would be virtually unlimited, and they've got the technology. Well, how many peaker? There's 1,000 peaker plants in the U.S. alone. I'm sure
Yes.
China has about that many.
Yeah.
Each one needs 100 to 200 megapacks. So that's 10,000, 20,000 megapacks you need. That's going to be a few.
A
So
few, got it. I love your calculations there. Um, I didn't take screenshots of this, but I also saw that Germany, Giga Berlin, had filed another extension of their land. Are you familiar with this, or what's this for? And
sure. They've cleared all the land. They've cleared all of it. All the trees are gone now. The land is mostly prepped and grading has begun. It looks like they're going to be adding another building to build additional models in Berlin. And right now, it's mostly expanding the logistics lot. They're putting in a commuter rail station, but they are absolutely moving forward with additional product lines at Giga Berlin. I would expect to see those come online probably in 2-ish years.
okay, but this is new, or is this something that they've been already expanded
They've been
and asking
it's
for?
been in it's been in the works for a few months.
Okay. What about the Giga Texas news that there's a new facility that was what was that about?
So they're expanding the actual factory itself southward. It'll bring it to almost a mile in length. My goodness. There's another expansion that's permits in the far southeast of the lot. We don't know what it's for. It could just be a warehouse. They've already got substantial amounts of warehouse on wheels. And on the far west of the site, across the highway, they're grading the entire thing to expand the warehouse on wheels over there. So I don't know. We don't know what it's for.
Yeah.
But the one at the south of the building is definitely for increased capacity.
Yeah. Some people were thinking that it could be for bots.
It could, but the development facilities in California, so I don't know if they're ready to move that this early.
Sorry, what's a development facility?
Oh, where they're actually developing the bots. They're
It's
developing,
in
where
California,
it's in
not
California.
Texas. Okay, I didn't
No,
know
it's
that. All right,
where the AI day was held. Wasn't that in California?
gotcha. Yes, it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
the new
Yeah.
headquarters that they're building there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is news that few people have been talking about because it's been overshadowed by so many other news. But Tesla is going global, and Tesla's selling now. It's now the Model Y long range is now available in Japan. Now they've launched in Israel. It's just coming from Giga Shanghai or Texas, but they're now going to sell in Israel. And there's now news that this is not just one career job listing, but many job listings for hiring for roles in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, in preparation for the launch there. So, what is your understanding of where Tesla's being sold and how far and how fast are they starting to go global?
It's every quarter they seem to add one new country, maybe two. It doesn't take very many years for that to, they're going market by market in the biggest, most flexible markets. They also are expanding into Turkey. They've opened up sales there. Last quarter, I don't remember where, was it Thailand? I think they had initiated new sales. So each market you get into, when they say, oh, at some point you'll sell so many, there will be no buyers left to buy them. But if you keep expanding to global, by the time you get to the end of the list, the people at the beginning of the list are ready for more. So I think it's going at the best pace they can without stretching themselves too thin in a logistical sense.
What's your understanding of the demand for these cars globally, right? So one of the issues they say is that, oh, there's a massive recession in the US, that China's slowing down, but then if they start opening up new markets like these ones we just talked about, then there's going to be, right, there's going to be an ability to redirect if there is a slowdown in demand in these other countries. Correct? Is like, do you know the volumes of potential sales of these cars in these countries? I heard
Malaysia
that
is not
Japan is
even
like,
in the top 10.
no.
So it
Okay.
goes US,
Yeah.
China, and then I
Yeah.
think Germany,
Jap-
and then
mhm.
Japan's up there,
Mhm.
UK, and then the bottom of the top 10, you're getting down already to like Italy is number 10 or 11. Uh, France is in the top 10. But when it comes to Malaysia, it's probably only, the whole market is probably only a couple 100,000 a year.
Mhm.
And then you've
Yeah.
got countries like Singapore where car ownership is
Yeah.
made difficult on purpose to mitigate
Yeah.
congestion
Yeah.
effectively.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
All right, let's go. New other news. So Toyota has been in news recently. Yesterday we talked about the fact that the new CEO said that they realize that they can't have used the same factory for because that they are already making the gas cars, the hybrid cars, and the electric vehicle cars. Originally that was their plan, and then they said they realized they can't do that. They need to restart with new factories. And then today, I don't know if it was today, but obviously the news came out saying that they are launching 10 new battery EV models by 2026. Um, yeah. So, but they haven't fully made the transition to just electric vehicles. They're still talking hybrids. They're still thinking hybrids is of course, because they want to protect their business. But yeah, any comments on that?
It's, yeah, 10 new models by 2026. That's 3 years. You're going to build factories sufficient for in 3 years to have 10 new models rolling out. It's crazy that they're just now realizing this. They bought the rumor that you could just flip a switch and begin doing EVs instead of ICE. We know that's not true. Ford discovered that with the $2 billion per facility to renovate. VW is about the same, $2 billion to renovate or just build a new one. And if you want a Giga Texas, Joe Techmeyer today posted that the investment so far, they have to file a report to make sure that they're in compliance with their tax abatement. They have spent $5.81 billion building Giga Texas. And you can see where the money went. It's 9 million square feet. Are you going to do that? Can you do that, Toyota? Because in a time frame that short, I'm just struggling to see it. And Kia announced that by 2030, they hope to reach 1.6 million units globally in electric vehicles. So they're going to be 7-8 years behind Tesla in 23 if everything goes to plan. That's concerning. If I was invested in Kia, I would be concerned.
I love this comment about how ironic it is that Tesla started in the Toyota factory, right in California, the NUMMI. Do you know much about that?
Oh yeah, it was a joint venture. It was a joint venture with GM. They brought in Toyota. Said, "Look, you guys are doing it all wrong. We will give you the keys to the castle." And they brought in their guys. They showed them how to rebuild the line, how to efficiently do things, and they made cars that their workers were proud of. They got the corruption a bit in line. There were some real bad actors there before, and they made good cars, and they made them in a volume that was at the time unprecedented from a US factory. They were making 500,000 cars a year out of this place, and it'd never been. And then the partnership just kind of fell apart, and GM never adopted those processes and procedures in other factories. Why, I can't imagine. They worked, and they just didn't learn the lesson. So it was a great factory, and then it was sold to Tesla with for stock. They got stock out of it, and they ended up getting, which is a great deal for Tesla. And then they ended up like 10xing the stock before they sold it all. And if they'd have held on to it, it'd be their biggest asset by far. But hey, man.
And then is it true to say that so Tesla started at the NUMMI factory? They took it over from GM and Toyota. And then they had to revamp it to start creating electric vehicles. Is it true to say, though, that does Elon wish that he just started a fresh factory instead of trying to take this one? It was a mistake.
They wouldn't have had the money to do it. So they didn't have a choice. It was that or not build a factory capable of building big units. It's been holding them back this whole time because it is the most efficient design from 35 years ago. It is nothing like any of the other Tesla factories. And really, it's not even like any of the more modern factories built today by anyone.
Yeah. Okay, let's continue with some more news. There's so many good news. Here's another one, right? So the Biden administration announced that next week they're going to announce the toughest vehicle emission rules ever. So the proposed rule is 50% of vehicles in the U.S. has to be electric or plug-in by 2030. Holy cow, that is fast. Because the number we've been hearing other countries saying is 35, right? 2035. But by 2030, 50%.
So the important thing is these are proposed rules, and I don't think they're going to make it through Senator Manchin is from coal country, and he opposes all of these, and he is often the real stick in the mud that prevents these from going through. I do think 2030 is more of an aspirational goal than an actual one. I think getting to 50% by 2035 would still be a tough sell. And remember, Congress regularly changes hands, the Senate, the presidency. Something like this would be likely to be undone by a future Congress or president. So it's a wonderful goal. If we get
Yeah.
part of it, I'll be excited, but I'm not convinced.
Oh, okay. Well, we're fast moving, fast moving. This is just for fun. William said, Herbert, English has a news story, the news, a recent report in the news. We don't say a news. Did I really say a news?
I didn't catch it. If you did, that's pretty funny. William's a regular. We appreciate him.
I will love him. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I do munch my words a lot, and I gotta, my brain moving faster than my words. I do that a lot, so I make lots of
Being
mistakes.
live on camera is not as easy as it looks.
I'm like this all the time. It doesn't matter if it's a camera or not. It is what it is. Oh God. But yeah, so this is, I mean, like the world is moving fast to away from gas cars, and it just feels like it's like the society has realized right away that electric vehicles has so much more benefits, and it's moving faster than we all think. We know that the ICE manufacturers are all saying at this point that we're surprised, we're shocked how quickly it's moving. Do you feel like it's moving faster? And what's your expectation by 2030? What percentage? Do you have an estimate of what percentage will be electric vehicles versus ICE cars? Or, you know what I mean? Like, why would anybody buy a brand new ICE car? What we've been seeing in the last week or two, as a car dealership guy has been reporting that used car prices have continued to skyrocket up. Okay, despite the recession. And the reason is because people don't want to buy the brand new cars. And so they're buying the old, they don't specifically don't want to buy the brand new ICE cars. They want to buy the old used cars at this point. That's why it's going up.
So I would say by 2025, we're going to see 20-30% market share globally. And by 2030, we're going to see way past 50%. Way past it. The reason they can't see it coming, Bob Lutz, this former CEO of GM, hadn't even seen a Tesla in person until after he left GM. And he said, I'm looking at it. The panel gaps are fine. I don't know what everyone was complaining about. And all I could think is, you never even looked at the car. You were so convinced that you could destroy this company, and you never even looked at it. And I think that's what's still going on, is they're not looking at it. They think, just like a lot of the government projections, it's going to be a linear transition, and it's not. You can see the S-curve already emerging, and a lot of countries are going to be 100%. That's the topic of my show tonight is, yes, Karen, you will buy an EV. I'll never buy one. Oh, my friend, you will, because so much of the world, all of the big markets have partial or complete bans on ICE cars, on internal combustion by 2035. It's unavoidable. It's like the people who said, I'll never buy a car that doesn't have a carburetor. Fuel injection is terrible. You will. You can't buy one. Unless you want to buy a classic car and fix it every 3 weeks. You're going to do it.
I suspect it's going to be faster than the transition from dumb phones to smartphones. This is going to be pretty quick, because it's such an expensive dollar amount that people are putting in that they can't, people do significant research. And then so when they don't know something and then they're about to buy something, they look into it and they realize, oh, crap, as much as this is funny. Master Photon asks, is your family still negative on Elon Musk and Tesla? Do you need to fight that narrative with the facts? Yes. But there's a nuance to that, which is, I've kind of communicated that, when Elon was being very, very political, I've got one brother who said, so I've convinced my brothers, my two brothers and my mother, so three of them, to buy Teslas, and they love it. Okay. And my brother is a car guy. He has Porsches, he has Audis, he has the largest Toyota Tacoma, like the biggest giant truck you've ever seen in your life. He just loves cars. He bought the Model 3. He can't stand driving any of the other cars anymore. This is like his favorite car, the Model 3. And but then when Elon was getting a little bit, political, he said, this is my form of of protest is I'm not going to buy the Model Y that I had a reservation for. Now, having said that, he actually, while in a conversation with me, he put in a reservation for the Cybertruck. So I think that was kind of like, like just that moment of reaction. But you can't stop yourself from wanting the best, beautiful cars. So I think that the nuance is that there is some people are turned off by Elon and it's crossed their moral, their moral line, right?
It's a balancing act. You've got,
but
I will stand up for my principles within reason. The Ram is not comparable. It will not be comparable to the Cybertruck. I don't know what you would have to do to upset me to a degree that I would pick the Ram over the Cybertruck. I just don't know. I don't know where that line is, and I can't imagine it. I'm sure it exists, but I can't imagine it.
Yeah. But people in my family love Tesla and they get Tesla. And so that it's just the separation between Elon and Tesla. And it's a funny thing, right? Because people always say like, well, do you know who the CEO of Toyota is? Toyota? No. Do you know the CEO of Coke? No. So why do you still drink and buy those products? Yes. Like, why is this one so, intertwined? But, okay, what else is there? So this one, so we've got news also that 2023, the annual shareholder meeting is going to be on May 16th. You can put in your vote now. You should be voting at this point. And then if you have your shareholder record, they're going to do a lottery. And if you get chosen, you get to appear to this one. It's a big deal this year. Alexandra has been saying, you got to be voting for the board members and so forth. And she said that next 5 weeks is busy. April 19th is the earnings call. We're going to hear the Q1 2023. You just said that you still believe that margins is going to be over the 20% automotive gross margins, right? That's still your expectation, Brian?
That's my expectation. It is not a popular or well-shared one, but yes.
Yeah. Okay. April 20th. She's saying it's going to skyrocket on April 20th.
No, that's that's Starship.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you're right. I'm sorry. You're right. Jesus, I'm dumb. I'm really dumb. You're right. That's the sharp because you got to push, right? It got kind of pushed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably no. Is it really April 20? Because is that joke 420? Is that why they're doing that?
It is a joke. It's going to launch as soon as they get regulatory approval, which could be as early as next week.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's why I got tricked here because I thought it was supposed to do it a few days ago, and then okay, this is the Starship, which is big deal. End of April, the impact report. This ESG, is that what that is? And you got to be watching out for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then May 16th, the shareholder meeting coming up already.
Very exciting. And yeah, that's quick. That's quick.
Okay, Brian. So let me kind of like just understand what you're thinking is. So we've seen now Giga Berlin, Giga Texas, right? So actually, was it yesterday? No, today, right? Today is the 1-year anniversary of the Giga Texas party where they launched the very first delivery. Yeah. I had a blast, just a huge blast. I met all the key people for the first time. We had a major party out there. That was so much fun. I met Elon, I met Franz, and I met Kimball at the secret party afterwards. Yeah. So it's 1 year ago today that they launched Giga Texas. Giga Berlin obviously was launched as well before that. Now Giga Berlin says they have 5,000 cars per week. Giga Texas at 4,000. So I just wanted to hear what you thought about, is that a delay? Is that what you thought was happening? If you predicted last year, were you predicting that by a year from now, this is what they'd be at? And then what is your forecast for the, how fast these guys can scale up in the next year?
Okay. So this is to me about on pace. If you look at the ramp in Shanghai, it is comparable to their ramp rate. Is it going to continue ramping in the future? Oh, my friend, yes, it is. In Shanghai, in Berlin, they've just expanded the stamping cathedral by more than double. They've about tripled it. It's closing off this week probably, or at least this month, and they will be adding 2 more lines at least. In Texas, they've got 1 line running. Lines 2 and 3 are being configured as we speak. They're being dialed in now, which means at minimum, Berlin and Texas should triple over the next year, barring a parts shortage or some kind of force majeure that would interrupt everything. The capacity for those facilities will triple. And, we see that Shanghai has a nameplate capacity of 750,000 plus, but we know they're at a run rate beyond 1 million. The capacities you see stated for the factories are always sandbagged. Maybe not in Fremont, but all the other ones for sure. And then a year and a half out, we're going to start seeing production out of Mexico, and we're going to see the same thing, a nice, slow, steady, big old S curve, and then hold on to your butts.
Many of us were thinking that they would have announced more gigafactories by now. We thought that they were going to announce 2 of them by the end of last year, December 2022. Instead, we got the Giga Mexico announced. We got the Giga Nevada expansion announced. But we hadn't heard yet about Indonesia or Canada or South Korea. Why is this a delay? Is this because they're purposely, were they waiting until they had the unboxing process design? That's what they're going to do for Giga Mexico. And then Tom Ju kind of hinted that whatever we do we're just going to start creating that model for other gigafactories. That, there's a delay to plan it, and then they're going to just go and produce as many as they can, as fast as they can. Yeah.
Tesla has said 2 things. They said, we're going to get unboxed, perfected in Mexico before rolling it out elsewhere. But they also said, we're going to build the next 2 at the same time. Did they mean Nevada and Mexico? I don't think so. I don't think that's what they meant. But we're stuck reading tea leaves because we don't know. My belief is that the tax credits and regulatory situation on the unannounced gigafactory are still ongoing. And as soon as those become real, they will announce it. I think Unboxed is far enough along in the design process that they could at least begin construction of both factories in a way that would not require massive amounts of rework. They'll know how far apart to put the columns, how heavy to put in the footings under each part, in a way that they could absolutely start building 2 at a time. And that's what I'm expecting, is to see 2 new ones underway within this year.
Okay. And that you're one of the experts. You've been following very closely what's inside these factories and how they're built and how fast they progress. Are you expecting that Giga Mexico is going to be drastically different than Giga Texas in the design? Don't they use multiple floors and then they drop things in? But because it's unboxing, are there going to be more robots? It's going to be like a technical dreadnought that he called it. Have you given this thought, and what does it mean once you saw the new process to the actual factory build?
I absolutely have. I think so. Tom Ju says he does not like elevators. They're problematic. They're unreliable. Yeah, he's not a big fan of the vertical thing, but I don't think you can get away from it. I think you will see on the 2nd and 3rd and maybe 4th floor that's where the line is for the rear assembly or the front assembly. And that what I think is going to happen is that you'll have the actual unboxing moving in one direction, but everything else to the box going the other direction and down. That's what I think. And that they'll all come in that way so that they're...
Yeah. This is no longer the Ford production line, right? Where it comes from one thing and it just moves across and everybody keeps adding to it. And then it moves along the line and then it comes out. That was the brilliant innovation that happened at the time. Now it's like, what did they say? That's going to be like 5 pieces, and each is going to be all working on it at the same time. And then it gets put in together at the end so that nobody needs to wait for any parts. So there's going to be like 4 different lines for each section.
It's going to be like 8 mini factories, each making a part that goes together.
Yeah.
And so we may see the shape of the factory be less rectangular, but I don't know yet. Yeah.
All right. You're also the person I've been wanting to ask this question too. Okay. Because I think your opinion on this is different than others, and you've got the knowledge for it, which is there's a debate right now of whether or not the Gen 3 car is going to be stainless steel or if it's going to be a new carbon fiber thing. And so, okay, I originally have been saying it's going to be stainless steel for 2 reasons. Or one reason was that why would you create a whole new production line for the Cybertruck and then abandon it and just keep it for just the Cybertruck? And maybe they'll do it for the van, the Cybertruck, the bus. But why would you not use it again for the Gen 3, all the new cars, right? The Gen 3 platform is meant to be the van, the bus, and the compact car. So that's weird to me. Number two, I always thought that he said, we're going to do the single stamp thing and this whole idea of, structural castings, less parts, faster. And they've been moving with the IDRA casting machines. Then when they announced the unboxing process, it then made you realize, well, no, they're just gonna piece, like it's more Lego pieces than a single like crate and then do it all at one time. It's gonna be pieces together, put together. So then it made sense. Maybe they will still do this, the stainless steel, or they can do a brand new material, which is like some people are saying carbon fiber. Where are you headed with this?
Okay. So on the casting, I do not see them using a single casting for the whole vehicle because it would create a redundant structure with the structural battery pack. Battery pack already has to be rigid. It would create a second process there, and it would be so much more complicated to get interior facing parts out of a casting. So I don't think a single cast for a vehicle is going to happen. Now, what's it going to be made out of? There's three possibilities. One is stainless. And the reason I don't think they would use it is because it doesn't require the strength that you would see from the Cybertruck. And while you could use significantly thinner materials, those would create new problems of their own. The second problem with stainless is that it uses a lot of nickel, and nickel in that kind of quantity probably doesn't exist right now. Second possibility is carbon. They could absolutely use that. Those materials have moved forward substantially since the days that Saturn was just throwing plastic on there, molded plastic. Carbon fiber is very strong. It would absolutely hold up structurally. It would do very well in a crash. The third possibility is if you do stamped aluminum, like on a Model S or X, you don't have to paint it.
Okay.
You could ship bare metal cars that would not corrode, just out of aluminum. So those are the three paths I see. But the stainless, I would love a cyber car. I don't think there's enough nickel to get it done.
Okay. Well, before you said the nickel thing, I was raising my hand because, imagine if there was a stainless steel compact car, the cyber car, and that's a robo-taxi, right? I'd be so safe. I feel very safe in that, right? Because I'm not going to, it's going to be a very safe car. That's the thing that if I was going to let the car drive me, if it can be much more, it feel like just feeling safe because I'm surrounded by a Cybertruck, the safety of the steel. Yeah.
You can make carbon fiber very, very strong. And the real question is the
Brian, I got to interrupt you. This Fabi guys, bare metal cars. Are we joking now? No, we're not, Fabi.
No,
because
it's radically different, but that's what Tesla does.
No, they already decided, right? They're not going to do paint anymore. Paint is extra steps, extra cost. You're going to be able to wrap this right there. Yeah, wrap it there. Moon, thank you. Right. Yeah.
Right. I think Fabi's addressing my point of a traditional designed car like an S or X being bare metal, and that is a radical departure from what's done. But everything Tesla's done in recent years has been a radical departure. This is another step that might seem crazy, and maybe it is crazy, and maybe it's too crazy, but it would not surprise me. And it's one way to get rid of the paint shop, which on a factory like this will cost you $1 billion to put in, plus the cost of paint per vehicle, which is easily $1,000. If you could drop $1,000 off the price of a $25,000 car, you'd be wise to do it.
And if you're a robo-taxi, you're not going to want to have paint because, it gets chipped and you get cut. You just want something that's simple to manage. Ed asked this, which is, didn't Tom Jew say something against paint? And what it is that, right, our friend,
paint
right,
is expensive.
Yeah, Matthew Donegan Ryan was at Investors Day. He got to speak to Tom Jew. He got to speak to others, and it was almost like he asked them. Tom kind of replied, "Paint is expensive," and with a wink, kind of thing. So yes, it wasn't a straight out saying we're not going to use paint, but it's a little hint, right? And it makes sense that they're going to head that direction.
Paint
I
is
mean,
also environmentally unfriendly.
yeah. Let's see. They're painting the next gen. Okay, some people still think we're
Maybe.
crazy.
Very possible. Very possible. To be determined.
Yeah, see, that's another thing, right? Because you can, right, you can do advertising for the taxi, all those kind of things. It just makes so much more sense, right?
Pre-wrapping the panels is a pretty clever idea.
You don't think that they're going to do a wrap? Because another thing that Tom Drew told, or Matthew found out at the Investors Day by talking to executives at Tesla, was that there's a secret accessories team for CyberTruck. And then, so then we all thought, well, wouldn't they, CyberTruck's going to be stainless steel, wouldn't they have a wrap division? But others were telling me there's no way they're going to do that. It's expensive. It takes too much time. Why would Tesla do that? They'll reserve it for third parties to do. What's your thought on that?
Oh, I strongly disagree with the argument that it's too expensive or time consuming, because if it's one person's job to do the hood and another to do the fender and another to do it would be done in 5. You would get it to the point where if you're wrapping the same flat panel over and over, yeah, wrap in-house using Optimus. That's a stretch.
Optimus.
It requires too much dexterity for what we know to be possible today. But
for Optimus, yeah.
For Optimus.
I love you,
but
Roger.
I think there's no reason they couldn't do a wrap. But what I have heard is that they don't plan to do wraps. And my hesitation as a manufacturer to do a factory wrap is then you have to warranty it, and wraps don't always hold up.
Okay. Talk about Tesla van. What do you think about Tesla van? Like, so you saw the numbers earlier, we showed that, and they look very small. The numbers of vans at 10 million, buses, but I'm expecting them to sell like a semi, where the numbers are small, but the price is going to be 2 or 3 times more, right? What's your why are they doing this? Should they be in this business?
Absolutely. I think 10 million is low if we're talking global figures. I think that's low, because you'd be replacing all the transit vans, all the minivans, all the church vans, I think the number is low. It would also be what they'd use in the boring tunnel, I assume. And yeah, I think it's a market with a demand. It's bigger than, they say it's bigger than the large sedan, SUV, and truck market. That alone should tell you enough. And you could do it with 1 or 2 models, with like a smaller one and a slightly bigger one. So I think that's absolutely coming. And yeah, and Tim would love to have one.
I'm going to throw out an idea.
There we go.
And you tell me if this is stupid. This could be very stupid. Okay. I don't think so. Okay. So now there's the unboxing process where there's multiple parts that are connected together. Then we heard that there's going to be the Gen 3 platform, and we heard the word modularized. So doesn't it? And then so you're going to use the Gen 3 platform for both the compact car, the van, and the bus. Could you then just kind of like a Lego set, create a 2-person car, then insert a middle part to make it a van, insert 2 middle parts to make it a bus, 3 middle parts to make it a bus? You know what I mean? Like, could it be done that way now that they've decided to go the route of Lego pieces unboxing versus, going down the line?
I think there would be some overlap, but the suspension and for a bus would be very different than a compact, even different than a large sedan or truck. So I think there would be ways that could work, but I don't necessarily see it. I don't see it happening quite that simply. Yeah.
You want to make a bet?
I'm not a betting man.
You're not?
And I can't predict the future.
Okay. So one of the things about you, Brian, is so everybody should know, he has his own YouTube channel called MyTeslaWeekend. He's just brilliant, and he has insiders. I don't have any insiders. You got people. Can you share something that you've learned recently that that we don't know about, but you kind of already shared?
1,000 Powerwalls a day.
What's that?
That's how many they're making currently.
1,000 Powerwalls a day?
A day. That's how many they're apparent.
Yeah. Sounds like a lot.
It's enough for 1,000 homes to get a Powerwall a day. So yeah, I'd say that's pretty substantial. That's some
is there
top
demand for
information.
Are they selling that Powerwalls all the time?
Oh,
like
they don't.
unlimited
They
demand?
never hold it. They never hold inventory. If
Okay.
there's, yeah, they don't sit on anything. They'll turn off a line before they
So
overproduce.
I saw Tesla. I think a person who's against Tesla, he put out a chart and table saying that Tesla solar roofs, that they were trying to hit 1,000 solar roofs sales a day, and they're at 15 or something like that.
Right? I
And so
would
they're
believe
going,
that.
yeah. So
I
the
was going to
comment
guess
was
8.
Tesla's talking big about solving, sustainable energy, and they're not even making a dent. Look at this. Yeah.
Okay, fair. The problem is every solar roof is different, and you have to rely on third-party contractors, as opposed to every megapack is the same. Every megapack installation is more or less the same. It's the only question is the number. It's still going on flat ground with a buffer around it. Uh, so that's why we're seeing things like megapack and Powerwall ramp so quickly compared to solar. Solar, to me, tremendous frustration. I think they're having trouble getting costs under control. They're clearly having trouble getting the network of contractors to install them. It's a mess, and I don't know if I want them to fix it or drop it or sell
Okay.
it.
Last
What do you
question
think?
for you.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you think Tesla's going to get into solar farms? If they're not
Oh,
doing solar roofs, are they
themselves?
doing solar farms? Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. I don't, because it's a commodity business with low margins. Yeah.
So another bet that I'm going to win, I guess.
I look
We'll
forward
see.
to losing. If I lose that bet, I'm happy with it. But you know what? I would rather see them get into that business where it's only a 5 or 10% return a year than see them repurchase stock at a time when it doesn't
Yeah.
when it doesn't necessarily make sense.
There are 3 pillars of sustainable energy, and solar and energy generation from solar is number one. And don't tell me that Tesla's not going to get into that. They're going to and they're going to come out big, and they're going to show a massive farm, and they're going to say this little square footage here can power all of Texas, and then if we just double that, we're going to power state by state, something like that.
I just don't see them getting into any industry they can't disrupt. And for grid scale solar farms, I don't know what disruption would exist.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Brian. All right. So I'm going to New York. And so we're not going to have a Monday show. We're not going to have a Cyber Bulls on Tuesday, not going to have a Wednesday show, but we'll be back Thursday and Friday. Really appreciate everybody joining me. It means a lot that you guys are supporting this live stream every Tuesdays or every day at noon. So thank you, everybody. And we'll see you guys soon. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Brian.